Today, we're delighted that the Church of England is announcing its new policy on climate change as a result of the work from the Ethical Investment Advisor Group and our bodies responsible for investment. And we are announcing that we will be divesting from any companies who earn more than 10% of their revenue from thermal coal and tar sands. This policy is absolutely right for the time. We did an initial policy in 2008. We're constantly reviewing. This is a major step forward. It leads us to further engagement. I expect that Synod will want us to come back to them in a couple of years' time as we help them do this transition to a lower carbon economy.
What were the theological considerations when you were thinking of this new policy?
One of the important and distinctive things about the Church of England's approach to ethical investment is that we begin with our biblical and theological and Christian understandings of the issue under concern. So that with regard to the climate change, we were looking particularly at the creation stories in the Bible, the way in which human beings are placed in creation to care for the natural order, to act as its stewards, and in particular also our requirement through the scriptures, through theology, to care for the poor and the vulnerable and the weakest. And then we've moved from that into a very careful scientific understanding of what's happening in the world, with talking to experts of our own Department of Climate Change here at King's College London, and with Lord Stern at the London School of Economics and many others, to be able to see what was the first step that we can do and what will be the following steps to try to actually fulfill our God-given requirement to care for the planet and to care for the poor and the vulnerable.
And what role does engagement play?
Alongside issues about disinvestment, even more important in many ways is our work in engaging with companies. Disinvestment is a last resort. Most of the time we prefer to work with companies. We have them in, we discuss this. We've been involved in a shareholder resolution with BP. We've been voting against high salary packages of 2/3 of the companies we're invested in. So engagement is crucial. And the last resort is, well, if you won't engage and if you won't change, then we'll disinvest.
Well, engagement is at the heart of our approach to ethical investment, and it's really at the core of this policy. So we're committing to intensify and step up our engagement with the companies that we invest in. We're already doing an awful lot of engagement on climate change issues, and a good example of this is the shareholder resolutions that we filed at the Shell and BP AGMs this year. The BP resolution has already been considered by shareholders, and the enhanced disclosure requirements under that resolution were supported by 98% of the company's shareholders. So I think this is an indication of what we're able to achieve through engagement. We'll be doing more of this in the years ahead, and we'll be very keen to have an impact as investors on corporate involvement in the transition to the low carbon economy.
And what's the concrete change on this from today?
Well, the concrete change is that we've divested from 13 companies. For the Church Commissioners, it's about £9 million of shareholdings. For the Pensions Board, around about £3 million of shareholdings. These are in companies that are in the highest carbon fossil fuels. So that's companies involved in thermal coal mining and oil sands extraction. We decided, on the advice of the EIAG, to make this move with them because these are the highest carbon fossil fuels that are making the greatest contribution to climate change. Because these are companies that specialise in these areas, we didn't think that we would be able to have productive engagement with them. And also, we don't feel that it's the right place for church investing bodies to have their money.
Eric, I'm so sorry I missed your call before.
And what does it mean for the investment in certain assets, forestry, solar, new renewables going forward?
Yes, well, we've been increasing our investments in sustainable themes over recent years. So the Church Commissioners now have nearly 4% of their portfolio in forestry. So we're actually the largest private owner of forestry in the UK, which is quite a significant development in recent years. We've got investments in an investment trust that specialises in environmental solutions. We invest in green buildings in Southeast Asia. We're also pleased to be one of the backers of an investment management firm that was co-founded by Al Gore called Generation Investment Management, which integrates sustainability into all its investment decisions.
Just for half an hour now.
So what does the policy mean in the run-up to Paris and concretely for CO2 emissions?
Well, I think the policy is very well timed with the run-up to the global climate change talks in Paris at the end of this year. I think there's a sense of momentum building at the moment. Comment from Global Faiths are an extremely important part of that picture, and we've got the papal encyclical due to come out fairly soon. So this is the Church of England, its Ethical Investment Advisory Group and its national investing bodies saying that climate change is a key challenge of our time. It's a moral imperative that we all take action as part of the transition to the low carbon economy. And this policy is about the Church Commissioners, Church of England Pensions Board and CBF funds playing a key role as investors in that transition and using a wide range of techniques to have an influence.